Hello and welcome back to the segment on Deal Tracker, and we have with us Prashant Mehra joining us from Thornton Bharat to give us more views. Prashant, May has been a good month, almost 200 deals across M&A private equity investments and worth over $19 billion. But I would say that Adani's wholesale buyout as well as Reliance deal with Bodhi Tree on the media side, these two were the largest, which really contributed a majority of the deal flow. What has been your sense from the trend you have seen so far?
Yeah. Hi, Nisha. Thank you for having me once again. Yes, you're right. May has been a fantastic month in terms of deal flow. The two deals that you spoke about really drove the deal values. But I think just from a number of deal volume perspective, also the year's been extremely gratifying. We've had significant number of transactions, whether it's private equity or M&A. I'm actually pleasantly surprised on both these deals because the two sectors which were absent in this deal traction were really infrastructure and media. It's good to see that there is traction being built up, not just from marquee players coming and making consolidations in the market, but also from a deal value perspective. I understand there is a market correction happening, but I actually don't see that to be too much of a deterrent.
Yes.
Because these are more from global wars than domestic wars. And in any kind of a market correction, it helps separate the men from the boys, and I'm sure the men will keep attracting values as well as volumes.
Before I come to the new themes which are developing because of the pressures on inflation as well as interest rate, Prashant, which will have a bearing on the deal market, and still new kind of deal flow will emerge. But one IPL bid process which is going on could be one of the largest deals for the month of June that we could be reporting, and that would take the numbers really high with the kind of record numbers that we have seen. What are you seeing so far in June and the impact of some of the macro conditions?
As I mentioned, I think the macroeconomic factors for India still hold good. Besides all corrections, I think we're still looking at about 7.5% GDP growth for this year. There is inflation in the country, but I think, given the fact that consumer demand is rising, that inflation is reasonably healthy. A few hundred basis points reduction would definitely help, but I think that would be managed during the year. Once at least the wars have come down, I don't see any.
But the deal flow, Prashant, what about the deals emerging, the trends emerging on the ground?
I think infrastructure would possibly hold the fort here in terms of deal values.
Right.
And in terms of deal volumes, technology, specifically from a private equity perspective, anything which is to do with e-commerce, consumer will really hold the flag there.
Yes.
Media is definitely emerging, media and entertainment.
Yes.
And India is evolving as a country. We haven't had media deals for the last few decades.
Yes.
But yes, this is a promising start.
So I have maintained that media and entertainment, a sleepy industry so far on the deal street, is now emerging when we are hitting one of the very, very difficult times globally in terms of macros. But Prashant, large amount of deal flow in terms of volumes has come in from the digital new age space so far, especially also from private equity, not just venture capital. Is that slowing down? We hear of many deal casualties. What are you sensing on the ground there? Are companies now finding it difficult to raise equity fund?
I don't think so. As I mentioned that, any kind of correction really helps separate the men from the boys. And I think these men will continue to attract capital as long as your business model is right, not just your revenue model. Startups will continue to attract private equities, and private equities would continue to keep investing in them, multiple rounds. We have a very, very strong consumer growth economy. And as long as these startups are focusing on that aspect, there will be no dearth of capital coming in from private.
So Prashant, whenever the theme of separating the men and boys comes in, then the men also start, acquiring the boys, or boys also die a natural death because of the lack of survival tactics, because of lack of funding. Are you seeing a lot of consolidation? Are we going to see that? Anything on the ground that you're sensing as a theme already?
Yes, I think we're already getting a good traction on the consolidation. And we will see that even more specifically in the startup space for the next 6 months at least.
Right. And any other theme that is emerging from the big companies? You said infrastructure, media and entertainment right in front of us. Any new theme emerging at the moment that you're spotting for this
I
month
think
and the few months?
I think early days, maybe a month or two would be a little too early, but towards the end of the year, which is the last quarter, I'm sure we'll see some
Okay.
significant transactions in the ESG
So
space.
IPO-wise, has delivery given some bit of confidence to some of the companies to come back and have that ambition of listing now?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I mean, we should not look at just the ones which haven't done well, but the ones which have done well continue to do well. So as long as it is a new age industry, as long as the fundamentals are tight, everything is just a short-term thing. From a long call perspective, companies would continue to pay good dividends to its shareholders and have good prospects on the market.
All right. Thank you so much, Prashant. Always a pleasure speaking to you. So key takeaways, infrastructure, media and entertainment and the tech space will continue to see deals. Yes, there's a short-term blip because of macro conditions, but the deal street pipeline looks strong, and consolidation could be something which could be a theme for the year. With that, it's a wrap on this segment. Come back after a very short break, and market action as well as news continues on the other side.